Look what I got my hands on. What's up, friends? Welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing well. I have yet another YSL Mini Couture Clutch palette review for you guys today. This time, I'm going to be reviewing the highly coveted blue palette. This is called Palmeraie Skies. I have swatches, I have comparisons, and we're actually going to do two looks today, both a softer blue look and then also this more glam look that I have on for you guys today. So if you want to hear all of my thoughts, then keep watching. All right, party people, let's dive in. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Sophia and I am a complete luxury beauty addict. I upload videos every single week, so if you love YSL, if you love brands like Dior, Chanel, Tom Ford, or you just want to know what is worth purchasing, then you're in the right place, my friend. Hit that subscribe button to join our fam, because I post a lot of very honest new makeup reviews, ranking videos, favorites videos, you name it. We have a lot of fun here on my channel. Now, let's chat a little bit more about these palettes from YSL Beauty. These are relatively new to the brand. These are their new eyeshadow quads that they have launched. You might have kind of recognized this style of palette from the larger clutch palettes that they have released in the past. Seems like these are a lot more popular, however, because man, they are selling out. I will link down below my shopping guide for where you can get these. Not every color story is available in every country, but I have faith, friends. These are not limited edition. I get a lot of questions about that. These are permanent, so you can collect all of the colors over time. A lot of people have asked me, Sophia, where did you get Palmeraie Skies? Because it actually, at the time of me filming this video, is not available in the United States. It's only available in select countries. Well, friends, one of my subscribers, Michelle, she lives in France, where they actually sell this palette. She was in the United States on vacation, and she very kindly and graciously brought this over to me from France. She shipped it to me, so thank you so much, Michelle. I really appreciate that. I shamelessly asked you for this when you asked me if there's anything that you can bring me, so I really do appreciate that, so I can do this awesome review for you all. These are retailing in the United States for $68, so they're just a little bit more than a Dior palette, for example. But unlike a Dior palette, these have the cutest little packaging. I absolutely love it. It really does look like a little YSL clutch, or maybe a little YSL card holder, because it is smaller. They're made in Italy, and you also get 4 grams of product. For reference, that is double what you would get from a Chanel eyeshadow quad. For those of you who are interested in ingredients, these do have talc. They also have a 24-month shelf life. Let me show you all some close-ups and of course some swatches of this palette, Palmeraie Skies. It's definitely a very striking color story. First up, we have a seafoam green, or some would say mint shade. This is going to be the most shimmery shade that we have in the palette. There's a little bit of translucency to it, but still very good color pigmentation. I will say this is not as glittery and like sparkly arcly as some of the other palettes in the YSL Mini Couture Clutch collection. This one is going to be a little bit more subdued, which might be great for some of you who are kind of like afraid of fallout, or maybe just, you know, too much glitter, etc. The second shade that we have there is a softer cornflower blue. I would say that the finish of this is more like a satin. It's not super metallic. It's very soft. It's very ethereal. And then the third shade there is a deeper blue. This one is even more matte than the lighter cornflower blue. There's a little bit of like a sheen that you get from it. It's really great for blurring the skin on the eyes, but it's not going to be totally matte. And then the last shade that you see there is a black. I hope it's coming across on camera, but there are very tiny little blue sparkles in that black shade. It reminds me a lot of the palettes that we saw from Dior this past holiday, where they had those deeper shades with the little sparkles. It kind of reminds me of the night sky. I was trying to do some research about these palettes and about the name. Apparently Palmeraie does mean palm. That's one of the translations that I found, at least, kind of like a palm tree. And this entire collection is supposed to be inspired by YSL's workshops in both Marrakesh and Paris. So you kind of see references to like the Casbah and Babylon roses, etc. And so I think what they're trying to evoke out of this palette is kind of like the palm trees up against the beautiful day sky, and also like the starry night. So you kind of get a mixture mixture between, I don't know, maybe like the green of the palm trees and then the different variations of the night sky throughout the day. At least that's what I got from it. Comment down below, friends, if you have some other thoughts on the inspiration for this palette, but that's kind of like the fantasy that we're selling today. Before we get into the demo, friends, I do just want to briefly comment on the formula of these eyeshadows for anybody out there who is new. I'm a big fan of this eyeshadow formula, at least out of the colorways that I've tried so far. These shadows have a fairly high oil content, which gives them a really nice, soft, slightly creamy texture. I still feel like you get a lot of pigment, but you kind of get the user friendliness, I guess you would say, of a lot of other luxury eyeshadow palettes. I feel like they are pretty effortless. So let me show you guys the two looks that I created today. The first one is going to be kind of like a softer, I guess you would call it, daytime look. And then the second one is going to be the more glam look that I am wearing today. Starting off with the softer look, I first went into the lighter blue shade. I don't want to go into dark to start because once again, this is going to be the lighter look. I blended that all over the eye. It blended very, very effortlessly. And you guys will notice these have pretty good pigmentation, even though I feel like the texture is very soft. I also took that same shade and I applied it to the outer lower lash line, just kind of matching what I did to the top to the bottom. Next up, I went into the beautiful shimmery mint shade. This is my favorite shade in the palette, and I applied that to the inner half of the eye, really kind of blending it into the blue, blending it up a little bit towards the brow in the inner corner as well, just to kind of brighten and lighten everything up. As I mentioned when I was showing you guys the swatches, this shade, it's not as glittery as a lot of the ones that you see in the YSL Mini Couture Clutch lineup, which I think makes it a little bit better for putting in the inner corner because you don't really worry about getting a ton of fallout. You don't worry about getting glitter in your eyes or anything like that. The last thing I did for this easy look, friends, is I dipped into the darker blue, and I'm just giving a little hint of blue here and there, just kind of like along the upper outer lash line, kind of going up into the outer corner of the eye, just little hints of blue. I feel like less is more with a lot of these palettes. They aren't really designed to make super graphic looks, and so I think going in with just a little precise blush, just adding a little bit of color where you need it, is going to help you make the look just a little bit more wearable. Finally, I popped on some mascara, and then this is the first look. This is the softer one. Comment down below. I tried to make this one very easy to follow. I'm obviously not using the black in this look yet, but we're going to use that shade next in the glam look so you can see how we can kind of take this from day to night. Moving along to look number 2. This is the look that I have on my eyes today. The first thing that I did was dip into the deeper blue shade because right from the start, I want this look to be a little bit more bold and glam. I blended that across the eye. I then went into the lighter blue shade and I popped that in the inner corner and then also along the lower lash line. I think a good way to prevent this from looking too heavy is using that lighter blue. Then I wanted to experiment with the black shadow because I didn't use that in the first look. And my first impressions of this black shadow is that it's actually a lot more pigmented than I thought it was going to be. I do think you have to be a little bit careful with this. I started off with a more densely packed pencil brush, trying to kind of pack it on to the outer corner of the eye. And I quickly realized that because these shadows are a little bit creamier, it kind of starts to get a little bit patchy if you really start to pack it on, and then it becomes harder to blend into the shape that you want. The best reference or maybe comparison that I could make here is that think about the Natasha Denona matte eyeshadow formulas. She has the traditional matte shadow formula, and then she also has those cream to powder ones. These from YSL, they're more like the cream to powder ones, which are designed more so for like blending out other shades, softer looks, whereas the traditional matte shades are more for like packing on the color. So my recommendation here, friends, is actually to use one of those little small crease brushes for more precision and also more blending. I switched to one of those and that worked so much better. Then I went into the mint green shade and I layered that on top of everything, applying that to the center of the eye and also a little bit to the inner corner. Wow, this shade really pops when you layer it on top of the deeper colors. You can wear it all over the eye as a one and done if that's just like a simple day look that you want to create, but it really does pop when you layer it over the other shades. It's so beautiful. Really kind of gives that look that maybe they were going for, the night sky, Palmeraie sky, I don't know. The inspiration for the palette, you guys know what I'm talking about. Finally, I popped on some black pencil eyeliner on the upper lash line. I'll link the one that I use down below. It's from Chanel. And then I actually used the black shadow to just blend that out a little bit more so it's softer, smokier, a little bit more sultry. Then I popped on some mascara and this is the final look, friends. How do you think I did? I don't wear blue eyeshadow all that much, but I'm trying to like break out of my comfort zone. When you're going in with the black, I know it can be a little bit intimidating. So comment down below, let me know how you think I did. Which look did you like the best? And also, do you think that you would wear this? Would you wear this out to dinner? Let me know in the comments down below. Alrighty, friends, it's time for my final thoughts. I'm gonna tell you guys kind of like the pros and cons, what I think of this palette, and then at the end, we will do some comparisons with some other palettes that are in my collection, just in case you own any of them. Maybe this is worth it, maybe it's not worth it. I'm just here to help you guys out. First off, what are my thoughts about this palette? I think it's super cute. I mean, you guys already know I'm a big fan of the formula. I'm a big fan of the packaging. I know it's a couple dollars more than maybe like a Dior palette. It's still cheaper than a Tom Ford palette. It's kind of the same as like a Chanel palette, but I think that you get a little bit more from the packaging. In some cases, you get more product. And for me, just based off of the like 4 or 5 colorways that I've tested so far, I think that the formula is pretty consistently good. I think this color story is just delightful. What I love about it is, number one, I like the tones of the blues. I like that they're not too dark. They pop on my skin. They are cheerful. And I still get a lot of versatility from the different shades that they chose. I hate when you get a palette and it's like 2 of the shades are almost exactly the same. I like versatility because I'm only getting 4 shades. I don't want one of those 4 shades to be a waste. And here I can easily, like you saw in the demo, use the lighter 2 shades for a fresh, lighter daytime type of look, and then I can deepen things up with these 2 right here. The black shade, I know it can be a bit intimidating. I totally get it. I know a lot of people, anytime there's a black shade in a quad, they're just like, I'm not gonna use that. I really don't want that in my palette. It's too difficult to use. But you know what? These shadows are very easy to work with, and like I said, less is more. If you just put a little bit, it really makes a difference to kind of deepen up your look and kind of transform it from something that was super light and super colorful to something a little bit more smoky and sultry. So personally, I like it because you can just create so many more looks when you have a black, but it's totally up to you. I would say that's a potential con for some people. I think you need to ask yourself, are you really gonna use the black, or are you just gonna use like this one shade in the palette? I'll show you guys some other similar ones that I have in my collection, if that's really the shade that's like calling your name, or if this is the one shade that's calling your name. The other thing that I touched upon earlier in the review, which I think you need to keep in mind, is that you don't get as much like shimmer and glitter and glisteningness as some of the other palettes in this YSL collection. If you guys saw my review of the Babylon Roses quad, that one just has the prettiest sparkle. Like, it's so sparkly arcly. I love how ethereal it looks on the eye. You don't really get that from this because this is really the only shimmer shade that you get. But that might be a pro to a lot of you out there, because many of you said you don't really like glittery shades, and you do. I will be honest, you get more fallout with the ones that have the glitter. So you kind of have to trade off the beautiful sparkly arcliness for maybe a little bit more fallout by the end of the day. I do kind of wish that this blue was more of a shimmery blue, like a little bit more icy even, and then this one was more of one of those sparkly toppers, but that's okay. I still like the palette. I still like the effect that it gives. In fact, I feel like I could maybe dip into another topper shade on here and make it look even more insane, or maybe like a Pat McGrath Astral shade if I wanted to really take things up a notch. The last thing that I will say, friends, that in terms of longevity, I don't find that these eyeshadows crease, even though they do have a high oil content, surprisingly so. I've tested out so many color stories and I feel like the longevity is pretty good. For whatever reason, I felt like the longevity for this one was just a little bit less. Just a little bit less. It creased a little bit more. It could have been the climate. It could have been my day. It could have been the concealer that I used. But I felt like it didn't last as much. Blue eyeshadows are harder to formulate than like a brown or like a a nude or a soft pink, for example. So maybe take that into consideration, but I didn't get fallout like I did with the palettes that had the sparkly shade. So those are all of the pros and cons, friends. I think this is so cute. I really hope that this pops up in more countries, but if it's available in your country and you are eyeing it, I think it is a stunning palette. I really love the whole aesthetic of the packaging and the beautiful colorways. Like I said, very striking. It's a thumbs up from me. Are you still with me, friends? Leave me some blue hearts in the comment section down below. If you are still here, we're about to have a little bit of a swatch party. We're gonna do some comparisons. And you know what? If this palette is not yet available in your country, maybe this will satiate your desire to create a look like this, or maybe you feel like you don't need this palette. Once again, I'm just here to be helpful. The first comparison that I have for you guys is with Guerlain Mystic Peacock. These are very similar palettes. You can see that they have a couple of shades in common, but the YSL one does not have that little orangey coral shade. Let me show you guys the swatches right here. Here we have Mystic Peacock and here we have Palmeraie Skies. I don't want you to think that because Mystic Peacock is more pigmented and swatches better, that it's a better palette. I actually think that Palmeraie Skies, it gives me very similar vibes, but the palette is softer. I won't lie, it is a little bit more approachable. Whenever I'm using Mystic Peacock, I have to be careful not to make the look become too heavy, because as soon as I go into this shade, which is like, I don't know, it's called Mystic Peacock, you got to go into the peacock blue. Whenever I go into this, it's pretty deep. You'll see right there, it kind of has like a black base. So if you've always been looking at this, but you feel like it's maybe a little bit too extreme, then I would check out the Palmeraie Skies. Also, Mystic Peacock is a lot more glittery, at least with this shade right here. The next comparison that I have is with the Lisa Eldridge Sorcery palette. This one is more so all about the high shine shimmers. There are some similar shades, but this formula is even more creamy to the touch than the YSL. Like, this is more blendable. This is like smearing a beautiful high shine kind of glittery metallic onto your eye. See how these have kind of like that foily sheen, and then the YSL, it's just softer. Like, I kind of feel like Palmeraie Skies, once again, it's really great for every day. You can get some pigmentation, but it's also good for a sheer wash of color. With the Lisa Eldridge, you also only get one matte shade, and it's this deep forest green, but there's some similar tones in there. It's just, you're gonna get a different look. You're gonna get a different look from the Lisa Eldridge. Next, I have the Denim palette from Dior. This is a classic. This as well, it's gonna end up being a little bit darker and less kind of light and breezy as YSL Palmeraie Skies. So here I have Dior Denim. See how that also is a little bit more metallic? This is in the older formula. They recently reformulated these palettes, so I'll mention that. See what I mean about, like, I really like the tone of these blues. It's not that I don't like these, it's just that the denim palette does end up being kind of heavy on my eyes unless I really go in with the gold. These two shades have that really nice ethereal, lighter and brighter type of undertone. If you're looking for a palette that's more similar to the Dior Denim palette, that's kind of like half neutrals and half blue, then we have the Charlotte Tilbury Super Blue. I feel like these are different enough that you can definitely have both. The swatches on my hand right here, I only swatched the blue shades because obviously like the gold ones are pretty different. Once again, these are much more pigmented, high shine, high foil, high pigment. Like, if you want to build up a lot more depth or you want something more pigmented, then the Charlotte Tilbury one would be the better option. Do you guys remember this palette from Suqqu? I think this was from like their pre-spring or something collection from last year. Unfortunately, you can't get this anymore, but just in case you have it, I do feel like this, like the vibes are pretty similar, and in fact this has a little bit more neutral colors. I wanted to swatch the two green shades together. The one from Suqqu, it's a little bit darker and just a little bit less transparent, but that one has some similarities as well. If you happen to have gotten the Byredo Prismic palette, there's also several colors in here that are pretty similar to the ones in Palmeraie Skies. These are obviously more pigmented, more foily. You get a little bit more from them, but like the tones are very, very similar. I really liked this palette from Byredo. Obviously, it's like a lot of colors, but you can easily do kind of like what I did in demo number 1, where it's just like 2 colors on the eye and you're done. The last 2 palettes that I have are from Natasha Denona. The first one is the Suqqu Loco palette. I know that this palette, it looks a little intimidating, but the colors and like the quality of these shadows is so insane. There's a couple of shades that are similar here. Oh gosh, they're so good. This color is called Snow Cone. That is my favorite shade in the palette. Maybe that one and the Frosty Lavender paired together with this matte. Oh my gosh, it's so bright and blue and it like really, really stands out. If you're looking for something that really like packs a punch, the Suqqu Loco palette has so many different colors that do that. And we've got some similar tones to the one in Palmeraie Skies, but then obviously I feel like I'm a broken record at this point. The YSL formula, it just gives a much softer look, which I know a lot of my subscribers enjoy. And lastly, I brought out the OG Natasha Denona Purple Blue palette, and I swatched a couple of the ones that are right there on the end that are more so the blue. Oh my gosh. I don't know if I've ever swatched this because it's a big palette and I don't use them every day. This shade took my breath away. This shade is called Chromatic, okay? So very different from Palmeraie Skies, but you know what? If you guys want to kind of like dupe these vibes, you got some blues you can work with. You have some topper shades that you can work with. They're definitely not exact, but wanted to do a quick comparison for you. All right, friends, that's all I got for you. I hope you enjoyed that little swatch party there at the end. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it and comment down below with all of your thoughts. Have you picked up any of these palettes from YSL? A lot of you guys have been messaging me and telling me like, oh, I got Casbah Spices, I got Babylon Roses, etc. So let me know which ones you picked up or that are on your wish list. If you are not subscribed, consider joining our community or head on over to my channel page for more content just like this. And with that, friends, I hope that you see some beauty in your day, and I will see you in my next one. Goodbye.